on Talk Radio. I'm Daryl Morris. Good morning, especially to you, if you were the person who bagged that 170 million quid on the Euro Millions on Tuesday. Whoa, blimey. God, just imagine, eh? Just let that one sink in for a minute and how life-changing that would be. But can it actually make you happy? What does it do to you when you suddenly, after not having very much, presumably, certainly not that kind of money, are thrust onto the Sunday Times rich list? Surely that comes with all sorts of issues. Let's speak to somebody now who can shed some light on that. Jonathan Davis is an economist, a wealth advisor, and he hosts the podcast Booms and Bust and joins you now. Jonathan, hello.
Hello, Daryl.
So, Jonathan, does winning the lottery make you happier? Because there's contradictory evidence on this, isn't there?
Well, my first reaction is to say it's the $64 million question, but by the sound of it, it's the £200 million question. I would say that, people who are unhappy say, oh, if only got a new job, or if only I had more money, or something. And then if you get a new job, or somehow you do come into a couple of £1 million, after a short while, the unhappiness returns. In other words, it's not those external issues that will make you happy. What makes you happy is what's inside. So there's no question that suddenly having a lot of money will take away a lot of problems, such as, paying for servicing debts like mortgages and other personal loans and all the rest of it, having fancy cars, having a lovely home, feeding yourself well and going on holidays. But once you get that, then whatever problems were going on inside, they suddenly start to come back to the surface. Money of itself does not bring happiness. It takes away problems, but as I think we already know, it can bring other problems.
Yeah, right. And there's been plenty of examples throughout history of people winning a huge amount of money or being graced with huge amounts of money through their work as well, and just not being able to handle it, not being able to deal with it.
It is an incredibly strange thing of the human condition, that if suddenly you become very, very wealthy, whereas previously you hadn't been, then it can, as I say, it can create many, many problems. First of all, you're suddenly going to find you have a lot more friends than you ever thought you had. There's also going to be lots of charities who are going to come knocking on your door, who are desperate, and they're going to show you videos, they're going to give you tales of, no doubt, serious issues, serious problems going on in the world, and somehow it's your responsibility. You have to sort it out. Your family, your direct family, your spouse, your children, suddenly they're going to have enormous issues. Do you get a Ferrari or do you get a Lamborghini? Because John down the road has got a Lamborghini and you've got to have something better than him, and so on. These are the issues that this person might come across. And that is why I would say to you that if ever this happens to one of your listeners, first of all, congratulations. But secondly, you know what? For the first 3 months of having this money, do absolutely nothing. For one better phrase, go away and live on a desert island for 3 months and just sit and think, because clearly this is the first day or the first month of the rest of your life. And if you don't come to terms with what is happening, what has changed, then you're going to make lots of mistakes if you make immediate decisions. Whereas if you take a few months just to reflect, consider, read about it, learn about it, what have other people done, and so on, and also consider what do you actually want to do in your life, you and your family, That's the only way you can possibly make this work for you. Otherwise, it could be highly erratic and highly problematic.
I also assume that they'll be surrounded or surround themselves with people who can advise them on what to do with their money.
Yes, and I've no doubt they're very professional. And let's be clear, what does the word professional mean? It means you make money from providing a service or doing something. They are very professional. No doubt they'll provide a good service, but they'll be very, very well paid for it. And as I say, I go back to this 3-month thing. Go away. Get away from it all. Just stick it in a bank for the short term and just sit and think and learn and find out what other people have done. And then 3 months later, go and speak to these professionals by all means. But in the very short term, the ultra short term, I mean, you might be 30 years old, 50 years old. You've still got decades ahead of you, as well as planning for your children and so on. It's entirely appropriate to defer making big decisions for some months.
What about the friendships and the relationships you already have? Because obviously you're going to have an influx of new ones. But do those change as well?
Well, I think it's fair to say some will become stronger friends. Some will want to become buddies. Who will, of course, be your long-lost friends, and in fact, they always wanted to be your best friends. Yeah. I mean, all I'm trying to be here is talk common sense, because this is human nature, unfortunately. People will take advantage. Even your closest friends, even your closest family, people will try and take advantage. It's amazing what money can do to people when it's suddenly there and it wasn't there before. It makes people do things, it makes people say things that they would not normally do or say. It's just one of those things. If you grow up with money, then you know what it is, you know what it does, you know what it feels like to have money. If you don't, however, and indeed other people know this, then it is interesting. It's fascinating, actually. I mean, I'd love to see the psychological analysis of all this, but there's no question it affects people. It's a bit like a virus. It affects people's minds. It affects their hearts. It changes people, yourself, the other people, people who are close to you, people you weren't close to. That's another reason for getting away from it all, getting away from all the people around you. You take a black book with you and just write notes about everyone you know. Yeah. And put pluses and minuses, and whenever they start talking to you about, oh, could you help me with this, or could you help me with that, then you go to your black book and you read what you wrote about them objectively 10,000 miles away, and that will help you decide whether or not you should actually help them.
I like the idea that I would live quite a modest life, Jonathan, if I won the lottery, and
I would be amazed if that's what you did.
Do you think so?
Maybe your modest life will go and live in a shack in deepest, darkest Africa, bearing in mind you'll have a top of the range Range Rover. You'll be living in a £10,000 a night nature reserve with lions and giraffes all around you. Some people will see that as a basic lifestyle. The reality is you will want for nothing. Yes, there'll be other people who become beach bums, but that in itself is giving in to the money, and why not? It's your money, you can do with it what you will. But being a beach bum is actually living a life where you're spending money, maybe not much money, but you are spending money, and how simplistic can you be?
Yeah.
I mean, are you really going to be able to not have luxuries? Are you not going to have the most sophisticated mobile phone? Are you not going to, when you feel like it, book a jet to go somewhere just for the weekend? Go to an Elton John concert in LA whenever you feel like it? Of course you will, if you got £150 million.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, then, if you say so. But I suppose the reason that I say that, Jonathan, is because, just take a car, for example, right? I've always felt like, so I have a Vauxhall Corsa, right, back home in Manchester. I don't drive it then here in London, but back home in Manchester, I've got a Vauxhall Corsa. It's currently sat on my driveway. I think it's got a flat tyre, which I'll have to sort the next time I want to drive it. But it's not, I'm just not interested in having a big car. But I'm not interested in having a big car because the reason that I don't have a big car is because I can't afford a big car, right? So as soon as the decision to, as soon as the sort of risk of it costing me lots of money for something that I don't necessarily need is taken away, I can, I suppose what I'm getting from you, Jonathan, is that you draw the conclusion that, okay, I don't need it, but there's no risk attached to me getting it because it's not going to touch the sides in terms of money. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, Daryl. At 100 or 200 million pounds, even after you've bought the house or houses and kitted them out and whatever, you've still got tens and tens, if not more than 100 million pounds left over. Even if you stick that in the bank, although that's the last thing I would say you should do, but even if you did, you'd make £1 million year interest. Even after tax, £800,000, £60,000 a month.
Yeah.
You can buy a decent car every single month for the rest of your life.
Yeah. There was I saw a really brilliant documentary once about people who win the lottery, and there's a relatively modest amount this woman won, a couple of million maybe, and she was booking a flight to go and see some family in New Zealand, and the guy went, I assume you want to go business class, and she went, oh God, I'm not sure, and I guess her daughter or whatever says, you realise you will earn in interest what you spend on that by the time you get back. Which I thought that was great.
Well, again, that's interesting because that's the average bod who doesn't understand the mathematics of money.
And those triggers, though, right? Those triggers of, oh gosh, that's a bit much. Do they stay with you after you come into loads of money?
Well, again, you'll find there's lots of self-made millionaires who have built businesses. They're as parsimonious, they're as careful with money as they were when they hadn't 2 farthings to rub together. Yeah. But look at Warren Buffett, one of the richest people on the planet. He still lives in the same house he's lived in for 40 years. Yeah. It's a pretty average 4-bedroom house. He still goes to work, to his office at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've seen a documentary, it's fascinating. And on the way, he gets some coins that are in his car, and he stops off at the local burger joint, and he gets a sausage and egg muffin in the morning for $2 or $3. It's an absolutely fascinating thing. The guy's worth $80 billion. Yeah. It's absolutely fascinating. So,
what was the documentary?
Well, it was a documentary on Warren Buffett. I saw it online. Right. It's about an hour and a half long. It's an absolutely fantastic movie, very interesting. Ultimately, it comes down to what is your psychological psyche? What is really going on in your head? Some people will adjust very well to the new circumstances. Some people will adjust very badly. Apart from anything, I think one of the professionals that you should have alongside you, should this ever happen to you, and good luck, and if it does happen, make sure that I know what those numbers in the lottery were that you chose. You should have a therapist. There's absolutely no doubt you should have someone holding your hand and helping you psychologically, because that's going to be the biggest issue affecting this winter.
All right, Jonathan, you have endeared yourself to me, my friend. I feel we've got on like a house on fire. Yeah. And so you can have 3 million of my money when I win the big jackpot. There you go.
If you're winning 100 million, I'd want a great deal more than 3, or else our relationship is over.
5? 6 at most. I'm going 6. Final offer.
I've got a bad back, and I don't know. Can you help me out? This is the problem.
All right, 10 million.
Well, that's very kind of you. I won't bother you anymore until the next time.
Jonathan, lovely to chat to you, mate. Thank you so much.
My great pleasure. Nice to talk to you.
And you.